Morning. Missed you last week. Thank you. Thank you. The right response. I want to take you back with me just a few years. Back to the 60s. And most of you were born then. One of you isn't. Let's see. Remember the hippies?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I lived in Ithaca, New York, which is college town, right? Cornell University and Ithaca College. We had a city population of about 30,000, county 50,000. And when the students were there, we grew by 10,000. So we had a few hippies. And it was interesting, we also had some communes as a result. And I loved, one time I was visiting with a friend and she was complaining about these hippies in the commune. And she says, you know, they don't think they have to work for anything. You know, they wanted a refrigerator and they thought it was enough just to pray for a refrigerator and they would get it. And then when she finished the story though, they got the refrigerator. They had faith. They had faith that they would get the refrigerator. And they did. It's kind of a foreign concept for my friend that, yeah, you could materialize something without going to work and earning the money for it. You know, because there's a proper order to things, right? And it makes me think about the power of faith. Just that simple little story. And I didn't have a clue of the power of faith at the time. I was just kind of amused. And then I think back to it, is how amazing that is. And what is it that is the key, the number one key for us in transforming our lives, in bringing abundance into our lives and attracting it so that it rushes to us? And I realize the key is faith. And we've been talking all year about transformation, right? It's a year of transformation. And all summer, what did I yak about, right?
Follow your passion.
Follow your passion. Find it, follow it. Yes. And I know some of you are glazing over. And I so enjoy that. And several of you did find your passion. And some left because they found their passion elsewhere. I'm sad to see them go. I am delighted that they listened.
Yes.
Right? And that they found happiness in identifying their passion and in following it. And the thing they had that got them to move forward was faith. Faith that they could do what they believed was best for them. And it's so amazing and it's gratifying that that can happen in people's lives, that kind of a transformation. And just a simple thing, faith. Many of you were here in the spring when we had a retreat. All the lay leaders got together and created a future memory. And we read that to you, and every week that email I send out to you has a link to that future memory, and we invite you to read it every time. You know, so that in 3 years, oh, it's 2.5 years now,
Wow.
what will the conversation be when you run into somebody and say, hey, you know, I just came from Unity Center in the Valley, and it was amazing, and talk about the smell, the feel, the sound, the entire experience of Unity Center in the Valley. Affirming it as already having happened and revisiting it regularly and having the faith that it will and not worrying about how. We do get caught in those hows often, don't we? I can't possibly do it because I don't know how. You know, or I don't have the resources, you know, worrying about the how of it. But it's amazing what shows up when we have faith that we are abundant, recently, about 2 months ago, I wasn't even affirming this. I just had this sense that abundance is coming to me. And I was open for it. And just saying, yes, yes, God. And I've got a new dishwasher.
Yeah.
Who knew that the new technology actually washes dishes? I use it now for other than just draining the dishes. But just being open and having faith that good is coming to me. And then being very grateful when it does arrive. And there's so many stories in the Bible of faith being there to heal people. When Jesus healed, what was the common denominator in all of the healings? Your faith has made you whole. Do you have faith that you can heal yourself?
Yes.
Yes, and the people were healed. The woman who touched his cloak, if I can only touch his cloak, I will be healed. And he said to her, your faith has healed you. Now, did he ever go up to somebody and go, heal? No.
I think I will, though.
No, he drew forth their faith in their natural healing ability. He drew forth their faith that there is a greater force in the world that can heal us. And when his disciples doubted, how many instances of Jesus giving the same lesson over and over and over again? In ministerial school, we referred to them as the disciples because they never seemed to get it. And he had to repeat himself over and over again. If you have faith of a mustard seed, and I meant to bring in some mustard seeds, I forgot. But you know how tiny those are?
Yeah.
You don't want to drop those puppies in the kitchen floor. They go everywhere, right? Yeah, tiny, tiny, and they grow up into these huge plants. But if you have faith that tiny of a mustard seed, you can tell that mountain to move, and it will move. You can tell that mulberry bush to uproot itself and go into the ocean, and it will. Now, did he mean that literally? I don't know. But I've heard of stranger things. People being able to do because they had the faith and the fortitude to follow through on their faith. And they worried all the time, didn't they? The disciples, they worried. Remember the storm? And they were out in the Sea of Galilee? That's like being out in the Great Lakes. I mean, it can be nasty out there. And they were in a nasty storm. And they were fearful. They thought for sure they were going to sink. And they woke him up. Jesus is sound asleep because he has faith. And they wake him up. He says, save us, save us. Don't you see what's happening around us? He says, don't you have faith? And he said to the winds, be still. And they were. And it became calm. And then he chastised them. He said, don't you have faith yet? So what was the storm around them? Their own consciousness, their own doubts and fears, right? They did not have faith. And so they created this storm. I'm sure that's never happened to any of you. Never. Never. I know, it never happens to me either. In our Prosperity 2 class, one of the lessons we learned was with regard to when something happens that you think is terrible, before you start to stress over it, wait 3 days. Just wait 3 days. And very likely you'll find that there really was nothing to stress over in the first place. That it might have been the best thing that ever could have happened to you, right? Yeah. But we make these storms. So the next time you make a storm, you might think to yourself, I wonder if I'm being a disciple now. And then correct your thinking. Go from a higher place. I found a wonderful quote about faith. Faith is like wings, wings that lift you above any challenge and help you view your concerns from a spiritual vantage point. Faith is like wings lifting you up from a spiritual vantage point. So are there any challenges in your life right now that perhaps if you looked at from a higher vantage point, from a spiritual vantage point, all would be well? Ever think about that? I still remember several years ago, and I was new to Unity, and I had latched upon this one quotation that I remembered. It's from 1 John. It's depending on your translation, it's either the he in you is greater than the he that is in the world, or the one in you is greater than the one that is in the world. So the first he, or the first one, that's God. That's your divinity. That is your higher self. And that is greater than the ego that is surrounding you. So the he, the God in me, is greater than the he that is in the world. So all the ego in the world. And I got in trouble one time. I know you find that hard to believe. And I deserved to be spoken to. It was the way it happened that was upsetting, because we're supposed to be learning about team building and working as teams. So this team I was on, they didn't like what I said. And you never go to a meeting you don't want to go to because you're too tired. Don't go. All right, that's one of the lessons I learned, because I just spoke without thinking. And yes, they did deserve an apology. Instead of coming to me, a team member, they went to their boss. And their boss went to my boss, who was the director of the Department of Health Services, and he came down to my office. And he said, "Fix it." And there was absolutely no support there. It was a, "you fix it or you're gone" kind of message. So I set up a meeting. And as I was walking from my building to where these individuals on the team were with their boss, my mantra all the way over was, the he in me is greater than the he that is in the world. The he in me is greater than the he that is in the world. The he in me is greater than the he that is in the world. Over and over and over and over again. Because I knew I was walking into a hostile environment. And I went in with the calmness that I had no idea was there within me. My subconscious listened. And I was calm throughout the meeting. The result was, at the end, they apologized to me. And I apologized to them. And they apologized first. Because the he in me is greater than the he that is in the world. Because what was happening, there were egos going on, right? And I had faith, having faith that, through me, all things are possible if I am with God. So the one in me, the greatness in me, the spirit in me, the spirit that has wings that will take me to a higher plane to view whatever is going on in my life. It's wonderful to remember. And I like that image. Faith is like having wings. And I'll tell you, if I could fly, I would. I used to climb this tree out in front of my house as high as I could. I even took a rag up to tie as a flag, so when I was on the ground I could see how high I'd gotten. And I got so high that I could see everything around me. Another thing, my hometown, it was very hilly, so I got to see across the valley. I saw everything. And I would sway in the wind because I was up so high. And that's the way I think of faith, being up there so high that you're just flowing, swaying with whatever comes your way, but you have this wonderful view of the world, an accurate view of the world. At one point, the disciples came to Jesus again, and they said, tell us about faith. Help us out here. And Jesus said to them, "Therefore I say to you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or what you will drink, nor about your body, what you will put on. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothing? Look at the birds of the air, for they neither sow nor reap, nor gather into barns, yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not of more value than they? Which of you by worrying can add 1 cubit to his stature?" Have faith. Have faith that you can walk on water. Remember when Jesus was catching up with the disciples when they're out in the boat? He walked across the water? And they're going, wow, wish I could do that. Wonder how he does that. And he said to Peter, "Hey, come out, join me." And Peter stepped out in the water, and what did he do? He walked. And then he sank. And why did he sink? Because he lost his faith.
He doubted.
Yeah. Imagine walking on water and having the faith that you can do that. I think you could. I really do. Who cares about physics? Right? You know, we have all the knowledge in the world waiting for us, you know, to create a colony on Mars, if you will. We just don't know how yet. But the knowledge is there for us to draw forth. That knowledge was there to fly with the cavemen. They just didn't know how to access it yet. So having faith of a mustard seed. Faith that whatever it is that you want in your life, you can do. Faith that no matter what the outer conditions are, when you have faith, when it is Spirit-led, when you have the wings of Spirit, you can do it. Anybody remember the recession? Some of you will say, which one?
Yeah.
Right? And how many millionaires are made in every recession? A lot of them. You know, this last one that we had a few years ago, that we're still climbing out of. You know, God did not suck all the money up out of the country, did he? No. The money, the prosperity was still here. What was missing? Faith. Faith in our abundance. There was a lot of faith going on. It was going on it was focused on the wrong thing, wasn't it? It was faith in lack, faith in scarcity, faith in what the economists said, faith in what the politicians said, the newspapers said, right? Faith in the wrong place. A lot of faith going on. I was getting very frustrated because I knew the truth. The truth that we live in an abundant universe and it's ours to claim. So where's your faith? You know, our readings today said Mary had faith. She had faith that she was giving birth to an extraordinary human being. And she did. She did. Jesus came to teach us how extraordinary we are, how extraordinary you are. You know, the Bible says the truth will set you free. But first we get very annoyed by it. Right? So the truth is, if you have faith like a mustard seed, you can say to that mountain, move into the ocean, and it will. If you have faith that you have the perfect job waiting for you, it does. It's there, and it will rush to you. If you have faith that the perfect relationship is there waiting for you, well, actually, that it is coming to you, it will. If you have faith that you are a magnificent, healthy human being, then that's what you are. So where's your faith? Even if it's of a mustard seed, start there and watch it grow. And watch the miracles happen in your life. So it is.